Matthew 27, verses 57 through 61. I've titled this The Gift of a Tomb and the Burial of Jesus. Let me read those verses. Verse 57, when it was evening, there came a rich man from Arimathea named Joseph, who was a disciple of Jesus. He went to Pilate and asked for the body of Jesus. Then Pilate ordered to be given to him. And Joseph took the body and wrapped it in a clean linen shroud and laid it in his own new tomb, which he had cut in the rock. And he rolled a great stone to the entrance of the tomb and went away. Mary Magdalene and the other Mary were there, sitting opposite the tomb. This story occurred between 3 p.m. and sunset. This is called the first evening. That's the day's decline when the shadows start lengthening. The apostles should have taken care of the burial of Jesus' body, but they had all fled. So why did Joseph of Arimathea come in? Well, it says Joseph was a rich man. That's actually something important. Back in Isaiah 53, verse 9, there's a prophecy there. I'd like to read that. And they made his grave, that would be Jesus, with the wicked, and with a rich man in his death, although he had done no violence, and there was no deceit in his mouth. So that's Jesus' death, and the rich man here is Joseph. Arimathea. There are two places in the Bible that might fit this location. The first one is called Ramah. It's mentioned in Joshua, I'll get it right yet, chapter 18, verse 25, the territory of the tribe of Benjamin. The second one is the prophet Samuel's birthplace, Ramathaim Zophim, mentioned in 1 Samuel chapter 1, verse 1. From the structure of the word Arimathea, the birthplace of Samuel is the more likely choice. The other Gospels give more characteristics about Joseph of Arimathea. Here we just have he's a rich man and a disciple. So in addition to that, Mark's Gospel tells us that he was a respected member of the Sanhedrin. Luke's Gospel tells us that Joseph was a good and righteous man and that he was against the Sanhedrin's resolution to put Jesus on trial and the plot to have him killed. John's Gospel tells us that Joseph was a secret disciple of Jesus. Now to the request for the body in verse 58. According to Roman law, the relatives of a criminal might claim the body for burial, but if it was not claimed, it was left on the cross to rot, and the scavenger dogs would finish off the carcass. Jewish law required the body of one who had been hanged on a tree, in this case crucified on a wooden cross, to be buried the same day. You can find that in Deuteronomy chapter 21, the last two verses, 22 and 23. Now with the Sabbath beginning at sundown, just a few hours away, this was an additional reason for a hasty burial of Jesus. John chapter 19, verse 31 mentions this. None of Jesus' relatives were in a position to claim the body. They were all poor Galileans, and they didn't have a tomb in Jerusalem. The Romans did make an exception if a family member did not claim the body. A friend might request this. Joseph of Arimathea had the wherewithal and had stepped up. Was this a coincidence? Well, I found if God is involved, there are no coincidences. Joseph also displayed great courage. He was coming out on the side of a crucified criminal in man's eyes, and he faced certain hatred and mockery from the Jews, especially his colleagues in the Sanhedrin. So what was required, and did anyone else help him? Well, the transportation of the body to the tomb, a linen cloth, spices, embalming, a tomb, a seal of the tomb. Not all these requirements are mentioned in Matthew's account, but we do have another individual mentioned in John's account, Nicodemus. He was a secret disciple of Jesus also. Now, Joseph and Nicodemus and perhaps others became the hands and feet that were required to do this service to the Lord's body. There was at least two observers, Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. This other Mary is identified in verse 56. That says, among whom were Mary Magdalene and Mary, the mother of James and Joseph, and the mother of the sons of Zebedee. Elsewhere, she is identified as the wife of Alphaeus, and that she and Mary Magdalene were constant companions both in Galilee and in Jerusalem. Well, to sum up, Christ's death caused some of his followers to flee, but it also drew others out into the open. In the first few hours following Christ's death, we have the record of the women, the centurion, Joseph of Arimathea, and also Nicodemus. There's 3 takeaways here. First, faith grows in trial. Second, we should bury our dead honorably. In this way, we testify of our belief in the resurrection of the dead. And third, at the funerals of Christians, even though we have left their remains behind at the gravesite and gone home, it is they who have gone to a better home and left us behind. Thank you for watching today.